up, YouTube fam? It's your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 times, and I'm back with another video. Today, I'll be telling the story of Pieper Lewis, an Iowa teen who pled guilty to serious charges and is ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution to the family of the man she said did unspeakable things to her. Pieper was charged with his passing back in 2020 when she was just 15. Before we get into this video, welcome if you're new here to our channel. Please feel free to subscribe, click that notification bell to get notified every time we upload. If you're rocking with the content, smash that like button, share this video with everyone you know. Make sure you watch until the end to hear the full story. So before I get started, I wanted to give a disclaimer that this video contains graphic details of terrible things that may be triggering for some. Please proceed with caution. Also, I will be avoiding some graphic words, so please try to read between the lines of what I'm saying. Alright, let's get into this video. Who is 17-year-old Pieper Lewis? Her story has made national headlines recently and has touched the hearts and souls of many. People all over the world are demanding justice for the teen. Pieper Lewis was charged in June 2020 with the slaying of 37-year-old Zachary Brooks. She was 15 at the time and was charged as an adult. According to Pieper, Zachary Brooks had allegedly done horrible acts to her multiple times, leading up to her snapping and stabbing him 30 times while he slept before she escaped. She alleged that she was forced to go with Zachary by another man who she said she lived with. She pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and willful injury in June 2021. She faced up to 20 years behind bars. Pieper was recently sentenced by a judge on September 13, 2022. She received 5 years supervised probation and was ordered to pay Zachary Brooks' family $150,000 in restitution. When the news made it to mainstream media, people were outraged that Pieper had to pay restitution. Some were even more outraged that she was charged with a crime after what she had endured. Let's dive deeper into Pieper's case. According to the Desmoines Register.com, Billy and Leslie Lewis adopted Pieper Lewis out of foster care at age 3. They divorced when Pieper was in 8th grade. Pieper Lewis had a typical childhood, according to a neurologist who evaluated her after the incident. Pieper Lewis told the publication that after her parents' divorce, her adoptive mother became mentally and emotionally abusive. From January through March 2020, she ran away 3 times, according to her plea agreement. She said in her plea she was harmed in an inappropriate manner at the Youth Emergency Services and Shelter Facility in Desmoines the second time she ran away. Pieper ran away again after her mother accused her of being promiscuous, according to her attorneys. According to news reports, in 2020, Pieper was homeless after she had run away for the 3rd time. Pieper went to live with an older sister of a Lincoln High School classmate at the Oakview Terrace apartment complex, said to be one of the most dangerous apartment complexes in Desmoines. Pieper ended up moving out after an argument and slept in the hallways. A 40-year-old man in the complex took Pieper in when she was 15, but he beat her, gave her white substances, and tried to make her have relations with his family members, according to her attorneys. Pieper left and returned sleeping in the hallways, where she met a 28-year-old man, a small-time musician who lived across the hall. To authorities, Pieper would consider this man to be her boyfriend, but this relationship would also prove to be dangerous. According to reports, Pieper said the man created a dating profile for her and he would force her to have relations with older men for pay. According to what Pieper told news reports, he was manipulative, controlling, and would threaten her life if she didn't comply. According to Pieper's plea agreement, on May 31st, 2020, she said the man she was living with told her to go to Zachary Brooks' place to get $50 worth of grass in exchange for unspeakable relations. According to Pieper, she refused to go, and the man grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter and pressed it against her neck, cutting her, which scared her. Pieper said when she agreed to meet with Zachary Brooks, the man removed the weapon from her throat. So who was Zachary Brooks? According to the Register, he grew up in Des Moines and attended Des Moines public schools before getting his GED. He was a father of 3 children and worked as a bus driver in the surrounding areas. 6 weeks before he passed away, he moved back to Des Moines. His brother described him as a loving father and proud dog owner to the publication. His brother told the Register he saw Pieper at his brother's apartment once. He said his brother Zachary Brooks told him she was over 18. According to reports, Pieper initially met Zachary Brooks at a party at a house near Weeks Middle School, she told Des Moines police detectives. The musician first sent Pieper to stay with Zachary sometime in May 2020, according to her plea agreement. Her plea went on to say that Zachary Brooks gave her alcohol and Mary Jane. When she became intoxicated, he had relations with her multiple times while she was unconscious the first time she stayed with him, according to her plea agreement. According to Pieper, after agreeing to meet with Zachary on May 31st, 2020, he picked her up in a parking lot and took her back to his apartment, where he ordered her to remove her clothing, and she alleged he and 2 others forced her to drink alcohol and smoke grass while they watched a movie. Pieper was hoping that Zachary would pass out from being intoxicated and she could escape at first light. However, Pieper said she would end up passing out first and alleged he did unspeakable acts to her after she fell asleep. According to reports, in the early hours of June 1st, 2020, after the alleged acts, Pieper said Zachary Brooks fell asleep. As he was sleeping, she was getting up to gather her things to leave his apartment. According to records, Pieper said she suddenly realized that Zachary Brooks had done unspeakable acts to her yet again, and she was overcome with rage. Pieper told investigators she saw a knife on his nightstand. She grabbed it, and without thinking, she immediately began to jab him. Reports say Pieper said after she had done what she did, she fled in Zachary's car and ended up back at the musician's place. Zachary's body was found later that day by an apartment maintenance man. The discovery was first reported that he might have taken his own life. However, upon arrival, officers were able to, of course, determine that was not the case. Zachary's passing was ruled a homicide. At some point, Pieper was picked up and interviewed by investigators. According to records, Pieper pretty much admitted to her part in the horrific situation and exposed the terrible things she endured with the man she was living with at the time. The next day, on June 2nd, 2020, Pieper was arrested and charged with first-degree hit as an adult. Let me remind you, Pieper was 15 at the time and was under very traumatizing and life-threatening circumstances when she was arrested and charged. After her arrest, Pieper was sent to juvenile detention. She was then sent to something like a group home, but later sent back to juvenile detention after she tried to make contact with her sister and others, which were against the rules. According to her attorney, when she made contact with her family at the group home, it caused the 28-year-old who allegedly trafficked Pieper to find her location. Pieper, as I mentioned earlier, would end up pleading guilty to the manslaughter charge in June 2021, which meant that by Iowa state law, she would be required to pay restitution in the amount of $150,000 to the family of the man's life she took. According to news reports, once Pieper's story became publicized by the Des Moines Register in 2021, one of Pieper's high school teachers who supported Pieper and followed her case decided to start a GoFundMe campaign to help cover the possible cost of the restitution Pieper would have to pay once she received her sentence. Up until last week, before Pieper received her sentence and was ordered to pay the restitution, the GoFundMe for Pieper had only raised about $4,000. Pieper's former teacher saw an opportunity to republicize the campaign once the order for her to pay the $150,000 in restitution garnered national attention. He raised the goal to $200,000. The GoFundMe campaign exceeded the goal and had raised over $500,000 in donations to help Pieper in just a few days. During her sentencing hearing on Tuesday, September 13, 2022, a social case manager with the Iowa Department of Human Services testified that Pieper was being used for money or drugs by adults and being given to adult men. She estimated that this was going on 3 to 4 months before the offense, according to reports. Because of the circumstances surrounding the nature of the crime, the prosecution did not recommend the maximum 10 years for each of the 2 counts. They did recommend the woman's Fresh Start facility, mental health care, and GPS monitoring at the clinic. Pieper gave a compelling statement to the court. Her statement was touching and heartbreaking all at the same time. She acknowledged that a crime was committed and that she is aware from what's right from wrong. But she reminded the court that a crime was also committed against her as a minor, her innocence stolen. She talked about her goals and future plans during and after her probation is complete. This is a portion of what she told the court as she finished her statement. Hear me roar, see me glow, and watch me grow. Like a flower, a rose petal, in the wind I fly away. I let go of my past and drift beautifully in the future. As the judge handed down Pieper's sentencing, he said that his hands were tied regarding the restitution, according to lawandcrime.com. The judge expressed concern that Pieper did not always want to follow the rules in juvenile detention. Pieper would explain in her statement that not having contact with her siblings and people she knew was hard. Despite these mishaps, Pieper was able to graduate and get her high school diploma this past July. She was ahead of her class. Pieper said in her statement that she took advantage of every program that was available to her while she was in juvenile detention. The judge will later tell Pieper that this is the second chance that she asks for, and would reportedly say she doesn't get a third. Pieper will be transferred to the Fresh Start Women's Facility when she turns 18 in November, if I'm not mistaken. She was also ordered to serve 1,200 hours of community service within her 5 years of probation. If Pieper fails to meet any of the requirements under her probation, she will have to serve 20 years behind bars. I hope and pray that Pieper is able to get through this without incident. I strongly believe that the system that Pieper was a part of early on in life turned out to be the same system that would eventually fail her as a child. Many activist groups are calling upon the Iowa governor to pardon Pieper, saying she should not have been charged in the first place, especially as an adult. And because Pieper pled guilty in adult court, there's not really anything that can change as far as her conviction. Hopefully, Pieper's case, along with many just like hers, can help to change laws that will protect survivors like Pieper Lewis. My prayers go out to everyone involved in this horrific situation. I hope that Pieper is able to heal from her past trauma and able to cope with what her future holds, the good and the bad. I hope she is able to accomplish all of her dreams and that her voice will continue to be heard. All right, fam, tell me what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on Pieper's story, so drop them in the comments. Please remember to always be respectful in the comment section. All right, y'all, that's it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This is your girl, Mrs. Tony 2 Times, and I'm out.